So welcome back to the house. Last time that we spoke, we talked about making the plan. We had all of the property manager and contractor walkthroughs, and we left to kind of put everything together. But that plan has kind of changed. So we're back. We're going to talk a bit about some reflections and some thoughts and what we're deciding to do now. And as I do that, we're going to do a bit of cleaning. So I've got some wood soap. We're gonna clean up these cabinets. I think it says warm water. Yes. All right, so we had the contractor walkthroughs because we were thinking that this time was going to be different. We weren't going to DIY it. We wanted to, I don't know, like everybody tells you to, run it like a business and have people help you and, decide where your time is best spent and all that kind of stuff. And so that was why I went through the whole thing of getting, I need a ladder. I'm short. Of getting the contractors to come do their walkthrough. But it was, a couple of things became really, really obvious. One of the ones that really stuck out is, so the big thing that we were thinking about was if we were going to add a half bathroom. And so that was kind of a big deal. We needed permits and plumbing and electrical and stuff. And so that was kind of like the big thing. Otherwise, it's just clean up and a full interior paint with a couple of like wall repairs, ceiling repairs, stuff like that. And so the thing that became really obvious though, is that the people who showed up were not going to be the people who did the work. It was like nearly impossible because like bro didn't even show up with a tape measure. Like it was weird. I think one person actually asked about the electrical panel because when you add, I gotta clean the inside. Because when you add a bathroom, you need more, you need power to go to more things, right? Like you need a switch, you need an outlet, you need the light that goes over the vanity. And so one guy actually checked the electrical panel because this house is pretty much to capacity in terms of breakers because it's an older house, but it already has a dishwasher, a washer and dryer, and a sump pump in the basement. So that usually will take up all of the breakers that you've got in an older house like this. So he actually at least checked, but no one went down to the crawl space. Nobody was ever trying to figure out where the plumbing is, because that's really the big kind of differentiator in terms of price for a bathroom, is how far you've got to run the new plumbing to tie it into what exists. And like nobody went into the crawl space. Nobody went into the crawl space. Nobody was really checking for anything. So it was just really obvious that, okay, none of these people are actually going to do any of this work. They are going to send people to do the work. Which just really made me question, where are these estimates even coming from? So I wasn't particularly impressed by who showed up. The other thing was that the half bath was still in question. So we wanted to know how much it would cost, but also ideas of where it could go. So once we were in here and was really looking at how the space would be used, we realized that there's not really a good place to put it. The house wasn't designed for it. It's already the small house. So it really was feeling a bit forced And we didn't want to take the kind of trade-offs of, significantly cutting down the size of a bedroom or having, just like a weird kind of looking house. Because we're not sure, like what is that trade-off going to be. So we've decided to not do it. So that really is changing the scope of work that we're going to do here, which also contributes to why we're kind of back to the DIY life, because, cleaning is obviously something that we can do. But, an interior paint job, like, Juan can do that all day with his eyes closed. So just kind of, lack of being impressed by who showed up and then changing the scope of work is ultimately what led to the decision to come back now. It's also the end of the year, and so I've got some time off, and things are kind of slowed down for work just in general. So the timing kind of also lined up well to just, instead of relaxing, we're scrubbing floors and cabinets and such. So, it might not be the right choice to DIY it or, for every property, but it certainly seemed like the right call for this one. And so that's what we're going with. The other thing, I had also mentioned that I was calling around to banks, and one of the unexpected, or not unexpected, but just as I'm figuring it out, because the intention is to BRRRR this property, and as I'm figuring it out, those closing costs are going to be higher than I thought. So I anticipate best case scenario is that I'm just hoping to get the purchase price back. So anything that we do to the house in terms of, the rehab or, anything that is unexpected that comes up, like, I'm not going to be able to refinance that money out. Because the other thing that it seems like is that I may have overshot a bit on the value, because things have, sales have slowed down a bit, I think. And, we're more entering a buyer's market, which was great, because that is what allowed us to get this deal at a pretty decent discount. But because I intend to refinance, I'm thinking that it's better for me to prepare for more of a conservative number. So that means that I'm just hoping to be able to get the purchase price back. So that is also making us more cautious about, all right, let's not just make a guess about this half bathroom and, that we're actually going to get more value with it. Because one of the interesting things too is that when the property managers came, no one really made a big deal about it. And one guy, I actually mentioned it to him, and he was like, yeah, I don't think you're actually going to get your return back by the time you actually build it. And that, in combination with the trade-off of, cutting down a room or making it a really awkward location, I was like, all right, well, cool. So again, knowing that I'm trying to be more conservative when thinking about what I can refinance out on the back end too, is also leading to trying to save money on this rehab. And so just using this kind of down part of the year more productively and doing it ourselves instead of paying someone is what we've decided is going to be the best plan of action. So yeah, I know, like a lot of people online talk about how you really got to start running it like a business, stay out of your properties basically, and like, it's got to be a deal to be able to get all the work done and stuff. But, still learning. And I think if you've got skills and you got time, you got to do what just makes sense for that particular deal. And we just think that this makes sense for this one. In terms of the property manager walkthroughs, that was pretty straightforward. So I've been doing self-management of my current units for several years. So I knew, kind of like what the service was going to be and what the typical fees were, because most of the people I had talked to before. So, what their kind of sign on to get started and their lease up fees and their monthly percentages. Even though one person had 12%, which I thought was high and I never had that before. But some thoughts about that. So I kind of had people across the spectrum. So the 12% per month plus whatever the sign-on fee was, that was kind of the biggest, most kind of professionalized person with several hundred units under management. The others were smaller. One guy was two kind of just pure property management companies, and one was an agent who also has a property management company. So where I am with that, the cash flow on this house is going to be really tight. So basically, I'm imagining that this is just going to be able to break even and kind of take care of itself. So that also means that I'm thinking about keeping those monthly management fees low. So, old girl with the 12% probably ain't it. We did like one, the agent manager, he knew a lot about just kind of home construction. Like he had a lot of good insights about things. But he's got a 10% fee and the other guy's got an 8% fee, and they have the same number of properties under management. So I'm sure some of you are thinking, cheapest isn't always better. So, and that's certainly a good point. The agent manager is also a bit, he seems a bit of like a one-man show. So like even on the appointment, he had to step outside for a pretty significant amount of time to take a call for a property that he's selling, right? So they're going kind of back and forth with the buyer. And so that just sort of made me get that like the kind of one-man show vibe, and sort of thinking, well, how much attention does he put into property management? I'm a little leery of agents who also do property management because they really don't make money from management. They make money from, doing transactions. And so it's like, where are your priorities and stuff? I think too we're going to go for the one that's more economical. I think the next thing I'll do with that is the guy that I like, the management company that I prefer. I'm thinking that I'll probably reach out to him for some, contacts of his current clients, and maybe I can get in touch with a couple of people to see how they're liking it. So I definitely love to know if any of you all have, started off with one plan for a project and circumstances changed, and so then you decided to do something else or do it yourself or something. Because like I say, we thought that this was going to be more outsourced, more, just kind of overseeing the project from afar. And now we are back to the DIY life. And it's fine. Actually, in some ways, I actually think it's fun, which might be why, people have different reasons for being in real estate. And I don't know, I just don't mind spending my holiday off of work, cleaning up a stinky house to get it to be rent ready. It just doesn't bother me. So again, maybe won't always be the case, but for today, this is what we're doing. So we've done a lot today. We got the carpet steamed And I've been out in the yard cutting down some trees and trimming some bushes. We've been in the house cleaning, doing the baseboards, the cabinets, and the floors. So it's been a long day, a little tired, but excited to see some progress. And if you remember, it was a bit funky when we got in here, so it's getting better. And yeah, well, like I said, we're just gonna finish this up, and that is the new plan. So I will give you an update on the next phase in the next one.